Hello, my name is Priscilla Trejo, and I will be talking today in this video about Task 3C, the pre and post survey for my students. And as you can see, it's a cloudy day, so I stayed in my backyard today. I'm taking a tour of my backyard. But I will begin with the first element 2, which was on tracking student progress. So these were some of the numbers. The mean for the pre-survey was 2.55, and the post mean was 3.3. This means there was an increase in student perception. Students believe I was tracking progress better. Some of the numbers for the pre-standard deviation were 0.751. And the post-standard deviation was 0.67, which shows there was an increase in the alignment of student perception. So students were more positively perceiving how I was tracking student progress. Do I believe this was accurate? For sure I did. I felt that I was innovating and tracking student progress. In my grade level, I helped a lot of the teachers think about ways in which we can track progress more oftenly. So at the beginning, I started with one pre-assessment and post-assessment. Later, I started tracking the different targets so that students can see if they're growing a lot more in their learning. So first target 1, and then I would track. And students felt very happy to see the results and not have to wait from pre and post. Also, I started doing target 2, target 3, till eventually at the end of the year, there was a lot more information on how they were improving and tracking their progress. I also provided feedback a lot more often towards the end of the year. And I felt this was growth, and that's why students perceived there was a positive increase in student perception. For element 2, tracking student progress. As you can see, it's starting to get windy, but it's beautiful out here. For the next element I want to talk about, the next element is element 4. Element 4 was about informal assessments. And one of the strategies I used was response boards. I used whiteboards as response boards, and I felt my students loved using the response boards. It was fun for them at the beginning. We did have to do a lot of rules and procedures, and I learned that, so I'm going to start with that this year as soon as we begin. But these are some of the numbers. The pre was for the pre-survey, the mean was 2.59, and the post was 3.42. There was also an increase in positive student perception for using response boards or informal assessments. The pre-standard deviation was 1.14, and the post-standard deviation was 0.614. I think this was one of the best growths, which means that students were a lot more aligned in the way they thought and they perceived how I was informally assessing them. So I felt very successful in this, and I felt it was very accurate, and I will continue to use it. I was very specific in how I was helping the students. I was setting goals myself as a teacher, and I would tell them, these are the elements that I want to improve in, these are the things I want to improve in as a teacher, and I want you to give me your feedback. And that this was helping them have a growth mindset as well when they saw that I was trying to improve as a teacher myself. I will continue the use of whiteboards as well. I loved using the whiteboards as informal assessments. Okay, so the next element is element 5. Element 5 was on formal assessments. And in this, I used the strategy of using response patterns. How are my students responding to some of the proficiency scale areas? So the pre-survey mean was 3.09, which was one of the highest for the pre, and the post mean was 3.37. This showed an increase in positive perception for my students, so I was very proud of that. The pre-survey standard deviation was 0.83, and the post standard deviation was 0.60, also an increase. So all of the areas showed an increase, and students were aligned in the way, were increasing in the way they perceived how I was formally assessing them. Do I believe this was accurate? I definitely agree this was very accurate. What I did, my class proficiency was posted. There was a percentage. So there was a lot more competition between the 3 departmentalized classrooms, and there was excitement for that. I also used the survey questions, and those helped a lot to help me every day think about ways in which I could formally assess students and get better at it. There was also data chats that I incorporated, and we talked about what are the areas in the proficiency scales in which you can get better at. And it was just amazing how my students felt at the end. I felt a sense of community, and I really enjoyed setting those growth and the elements. I will continue to use them the following school year. So I feel very happy, and as you can see, it's starting to rain a lot. I did want to share my pomegranate tree because I'm so happy that they're starting to grow this year, and it looks beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your year, and thank you for all your help and support. Bye.